Here I have a little site that lists products, and as you can see down here I have some pagination. So you click on next page and it scrolls through the different products. You can also do a search, and the pagination works with that as well. So that's pretty cool. Now what I'm using to implement this is the built-in pagination inside of Rails. As you can see, I'm calling paginate method, which is in the controller, and then passing the search conditions onto that. Now the built-in pagination in Rails I do have some issues with. One is that it's fairly difficult to move the find into the model. Now this is a fairly complex find, and it would be nice to move this into the model, but the paginate method makes that a little difficult to do. It also returns two variables, which I've never cared for, because it needs to keep track of the paginator separate from the array of products. It also has some performance issues if you do have a lot of pages. And on top of all this, it's being moved out of Rails. Currently in Edge Rails, it's already been moved out, and so if you are using Edge Rails, this will break. And you can install a plugin called Classic Pagination, which to restore this behavior. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So because of this, a lot of people are jumping to alternative approaches. And one of the more popular approaches is the Will Paginate plugin. So I'll show you how to use that in this episode. So let's get to installing it. Script, plugin, install, and let's see if I get this URL right. Or the blog.com/svn/plugins will paginate. There we go. So here's our little plugin installed successfully. Now let me use Script Console to show you how to use this. Now you call paginate on a model class instead of just in the controller. So it's inside the model, so that's a little bit different. And you also need to pass the page number to it, so that's another difference. And you can pass the per page option as well. So let me do per page 5. You can pass other conditions as well. So here we have a list of products, list of 5 products. Now this appears to be a simple array, but it's actually smart. So if you do a class on this, you can see that it's a will paginate collection. And what's really cool about this is it acts as a paginator as well as acts as an array. So it behaves almost exactly like an array, but it does have the pagination ability built in as well. So it takes the place of what both of these variables accomplish. So that means it just returns one variable. You don't have to juggle around 2 different variables. Now it's also because it is added to you call paginate on a class of the model. It's very easy to move this into the model. So I'll show you how to use this in replacing our built-in pagination here. So let's call products equals product.paginate. And we basically want to pass the same conditions as we do here. Let's clean this up a bit. And we also need to pass the page. So that is one difference, because the model doesn't have access to the params hash. Okay, and what's really cool about this plugin is in the view here, if you can see, I have this big hunk of code that's displaying all the different pagination links. I can replace this whole thing with just will paginate, and then pass the products array to that. And so that does basically the same thing as what I had before. So we can just reload this here and see that it's very similar behavior, but with much less code and much more flexible. Let's try removing the search, and that works too. So that's very cool. Now I'm going to move this into the model because that's what I've been itching to do all this time. And so let me basically copy this. Let me do a self.search, so it's a class method. This will pass the search variable, and let's say the page variable. You probably want to pass more, but for this simple example, I'll keep it at that. Let's just call paginate on this, and we're just calling page on this and passing search in here. So we're using those variables that are passed, and then back in the controller we need to use that. So product.search, and then we basically pass those two variables in here, two params. Alright, so now let's try it again and see if, yay, it's still working. So the moral of the story is hop on over to the Will Paginate plugin, because I personally think it's a much better choice than the built-in pagination, especially because the built-in pagination is being moved out of Rails. So I hope you found this episode useful. We have a brand new addition to our Railscast contest. Someone has kindly donated a Nintendo DS Lite. So many thanks to this individual who wishes to remain anonymous. So now we have in our Railscast contest prize list a Pragmatic Programmer books, Peepcode episodes, t-shirts, and an iPod Shuffle, and now the Nintendo DS Lite. So this makes the contest pretty irresistible. All you have to do is submit a documentation patch to Rails Track, email me the link at contest@railscast.com, and before July 27th, which then I will draw 8 random winners. So go to railscast.com/contest for more details.